The Matiangi factor, the question, right? What is the Matiangi factor? How is it building? How is it coming to national politics? And of course, what is behind the scenes of this Matiangi factor? We have the former South Mugirango MP, that is Omingo Magara, in studio with us. Good morning. It's good to have you.
A pleasure too.
Happy
New Year. I'm not seeing you this year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, we say Happy New Year until June. I agree with you, Mingo.
March, end of March, of course.
Yes,
Don't go
I think
we
end
shall
of
push.
March.
Yes. Yes, the end of March is coming.
After that, now we can draw a hard line.
Yeah. Mheshimiwa, it's good to have you here.
Pleasure too.
Also, the party leader of the People's Democratic Party.
Yes.
We'll discuss all that and the politics around political parties, around democracy in this country and multi-partyism and all. But first, before we get into our conversation, we normally welcome our guest with the day's quote. Janet Boga would have been here, but since she's away this week, Mariam has the job of giving you the quote.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. Today's quote is by Albert Einstein, a theoretical physicist and a genius by many definitions. He said, "You cannot solve a problem on the same level you created it." You cannot solve a problem on the same level you created it.
Yes. That quickly takes me to National Assembly, for example. And say you have done a law to address a particular mischief. When that happens, you look back and reflect on the basis on which you made that law.
True.
I'm just going to a classical example. Then if you realize that the premise upon which that law was made does not address that matter, you shift the base and address the mischief to kind of make sure you fix it because the initial base did not hold. Yeah. So
I like that from our lawmakers.
you review that and
Yes.
say, what were the mischiefs? Were the parameters wrong? You move out and correct that mess.
Or have circumstances changed?
Yes.
Society changes, right? Have circumstances changed?
Yeah.
So we saw the United Alternative Government.
That is right term, correct.
As they're calling themselves now, doing some 3-day...
No, not calling ourselves, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So, as you are calling yourselves, the United Alternative Government had 3 days of rallies in Kisii and Nyamira last week. And then, of course, then they went to Nakuru and ended up in Nyandarua over the weekend. But that whole Gusii land tour was primed as something. You know, it was big because it was a moment where we saw the endorsement of, Dr. Matiangi as the one that is carrying the rungu for the community and so on and so forth. And we're asking, what's that all about? You are a leader from Gusii. You've been a member of parliament. You have been in government. You are now a leader of a political party in this region. And you are also associating yourself with the United Alternative Government. So what was that tour about?
This narrative was to stamp authority and confirm the doubting Thomases that Kisii is not moved from this regime to a new dispensation. And I've been going around in the official position leadership, and I've been asserting myself and telling them, listen, guys, Kisii, we have already made a decision, and we made a statement last year in March, in May, when Dr. Fred Matiangi went to Kisii. And I was telling them, Kisii is locked, please believe us. But there are too many noisemakers out there who keep shouting because they are eating on the table and saying their milk is a funny cow that is infected with mastitis. But the milk is bad, really. And we're telling them, as you continue milking, remember, you be a little wise and move away from a carcass because you'll be buried in the grave with that, the fly will be buried in the grave with that carcass. They didn't believe it. In fact, they made it look so bad that we have Fred Matiangi has no grip in Kisii. I told them, don't worry, they thought it was a joke. We had to tell them, here we are, we have come, please. The doubting Thomases, the naysayers, your dreams actually are dreams, and it's good to dream, of course, but please don't dream during the day. So we had to affirm authority. Yeah. It was, but we are kind of cementing. And my brother here has asked me a question, a very valid question. Why? And truly speaking, from Kisii, I pride myself, I think, the third longest serving political figure that's alive today after Professor Ongeri and Mheshimiwa Chris Obure. But even in biblical terms, there was this lad who was in the bush. He was called a young man who was about the 12 sons of He knows who's good Bible. That young man who was, the lad who was looking after animals, all the big tall giants came, and God said, no, this is not a leader. The prophet asked, is there any other? They say, oh yes, there's one
is a
lad
small
out
boy
there who's looking after cattle.
Yeah.
This is Matiangi's moment. He has not been in political leadership for sure. He has only had a stint in executive, done a very exemplary job in ICT, he has done a wonderful job in education, of course. We have certificates had value. Al-Shabaab messes were, one more thing of the past. And now Kenya say, can we try him? Because we are too used to, people like Omingo Magara who have been in this space for too long. Let's try this and see what can make a difference. And that goes us to our saying, if the base was wrong, shift the base.
Right.
And readdress that matters differently. From the crop of Kisi leadership, let's have a newcomer to give a fresh face, which he did in Kenya when it was least expected. So that was a statement we were making, and we was crowned. For sure, even our friends were extremely excited. I'll tell you the background in between that strip, before it started and when it ended, there were those ones who were saying, because we have continued to milk this cow, anybody coming to kind of stop the milking is an alien in society.
Okay.
We stamped out and said, you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. The goons are lined up to kind of slaughter people. But people, the euphoric support, and the people power overpower the milkers.
The milkers. Before we get deeper into that Matiangi factor,
Yes.
we've seen a lot of by-elections happening over the last 2 months.
Correct.
And unfortunately, some of that has come, as a result of the deaths of various members of parliament, members of county assembly, etc. But you first came into power in quotes, into elected office, let me use that word, through a by-election as well.
Correct.
Walk me through the difference from a political perspective from a by-election and a general election. Yes.
By-election generally, by and large, they kind of send a statement if there's transparency in the way things are done. I remember when I came into office, I actually was running against a system, a powerful Moi regime. And there were several offers and, of course, advances to, make me shift from Fort Kenya, where I ran on, and to Kanu. It's also about a principle, really. But there was a resolve for Kenyans that Moi must be taught a lesson. God rest his soul, internal peace. And when we got to that elections, the minds of Kenyans, the cases were set to say, we've had enough of this oppression, let's make a statement. And it did. It was the first time opposition came together to to challenge a sitting government, and we won against Moi. There's always a first. And Kisi's are on record for also made this statement last time.
Right.
The by-election, which was done in Kisi, I can tell the tons of money spent in three by-elections, Yansiongo, Kerenyo, Yamaya, was in excess of 300 million. In fact, money wouldn't fit in suitcases. They were carrying money in pro boxes and choppers, right?
Yeah.
And, you find 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people bringing 1,000 shillings each. They said, waja tufungue duka, tutaifunga wakati utakafika. And that happened. But I also want to contextualize this. There was also a supremacist war somewhere where people were desperate to make a point. Mbeere North, I will tell you, there was no transparency in that elections. You know it, that even tankers came out of the army to block roads. Really? And in Kisi, they tried to interfere with that process, for example, by bringing also goons, the people power to control.
Right.
And sometimes also, let me say this myth about a state that runs elections and maintains power, William Samoei Ruto confirmed that it can be done otherwise. It does not matter where you are today. A villain can come out from there, from a nobody, to become a president. So trying to say you can't beat the system because you are a state, the state is with you, the system is with you, you're actually lost. So the other things, the desperation they are trying to map out on the other side where they succeeded is that, hey, we are here and you can't be the system. I can tell you, you cannot spread that kind of tyranny in the entire country. And if they try that, there will be anarchy.
So by-elections are opportunities for them maybe
To make a statement.
Yeah.
but to make a statement as well. One of our fixers here online are saying the by-elections are also an indicator. For him, he says that by-elections are a cause of concern. The turnout and the excitement around the by-elections indicates that, nothing much is changing in this country.
Far from it. It is for the first time we have seen cabinet ministers taking charge of polling stations. That is completely a show of desperation. And you realize that when the by-election was being conducted, there was a bit of too much flex of muscles. And people saying we must give our best. I want to make a statement. But how deep is that statement in the heart of the people? And that you can scan through and hear how much of the cries that you had in the polling stations. The other by-election, which was done in Garissa, polling station, people are voting more than the registered voters identified by the Kim skit. So this is a desperate move. And when you do that, it also prepares us to do a serious buffer towards the end of this term, where these guys are desperate to remain in power. And I can say this, it is not only that which will happen, because it appears like we have taken all the loot and we're saying, please, tunapatia mchele. Sijaona blanketi being distributed in broad daylight, and maragwe ambayo haivi inapea watu ingine inafanya watu kwa hospital, and it's not a myth, I can tell you. It is happening, and in broad daylight. If it was a serious democracy, IBC should have been put to question. Bribery, outright bribery, and you can see it. Panga laini, the state and ministers of government who are not supposed to participate in elections. When it comes, when the chips are down, everybody will be in their corner trying to find the survival, and that's when we walk over them like, a carpet.
Well, we've had this kind of conversation before. We've had this talk before. We have had talk of people complaining that there is bribery using state machinery. We've had people complaining about voter buying and all, but it doesn't end. It happens in by-elections. It happens in general elections, right? So there's nothing new, really, in what happened in the by-elections of last year, in the by-elections of last week, with what is likely to happen in next year's general election.
I'll tell you, and I think I was trying to preempt the discussions towards the validity of having an opposition, that I'll come to it later. But these circumstances today are not the same in 2022, 2017, 2013. I will tell you, things have changed. Today, people are saying, we want to change this regime, but who is available? Can I tell you, friends, 24th of June last year, this government was coming down. Nobody saw Gen Z's coming. So as we sit in our, in our comfort zones, please let's watch our space, because the anger in people's underbelly is too hot that it can't just die for the sake of this. And that's why I'm saying we're galvanized by that kind of passion to change this system, because, you may think that it is normal business. And I think for us, from where we sit, they can sit in that comfort zone and saying, wow, we have the state, we have the money. If money wasn't anything, Nyansiongo would have been lost to UD. It did not go.
It didn't
and
go.
That was, they wanted to embarrass our captain from Kisii, because that's his constituency. And it is PDP that carried the day, which is associated with the captain, Fred Matiangi. So we want to pray that they have that warm blanket and that chest thumping. And you can push people into a wall, but beyond that wall, they'll have to fight back. So we're saying, let fair play be, use your resources, and then exactly it's not our resources. We're telling them, your person, Adani, Manenos, eat because it's yours, haina deni, haina receipt. So from where I see it, the narrative, things happen, let them believe they're the same. When the chips are down, we should be smiling all the way to the bank.
There's no difference, Omingo. No change. Like you're saying, 2 years ago in June, the youth of this country came out and they were pushing for a different way of doing things, a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
You old folks who are now galvanizing together as a united opposition, united alternative government, are still playing the game the same old way. And that is why you're still going back to your bases and creating political kingpins and bringing those political kingpins to a round table and saying that these are the ones who are going to shape the politics of next election and going forward. No change. You have installed a Gusii kingpin. Gachagua is installing himself as, or has been installed by some, as the Mount Kenya kingpin. And you're looking for, so Kalonzo is the kingpin of Ukambani. You're looking for a kingpin of Luyaland and so on and so forth. Same old way of doing things.
Boss, even in the Bible, we had tribes of Israelites, and they were identified. Pick two to represent and help Moses lead. We are not saying it's primitive to be a Kisi. It's on how I use my Kisi card at the expense of another Kenyan that can be put to question. Politics is local, Latif. And they say, oh, PDP is a local party, or whatever is a Kalenjin party, Luo party, whatever. There is no party registered to, and let me school you, and I've been a chairman of Center for Democracy. There's no party registered as a tribal party.
Of course.
Please listen to me carefully.
Yeah.
There's no Kisi party per se. What happens is we have registered national political parties, and the national thing is the governance structure must have the face of Kenya. The difference is, Lati, please tell Kenyans to stop this cheap gossip that parties are local. The only difference is the vision bearer comes from a region. So if you see a vision bearer trying to project themselves to Kenyans, they don't become tribal. For example, PDP is a national party, but I'm the vision bearer. So that's why I said quickly, put me at I'm a Kisi, yes? And there's a diversity in this. Before you become a Kenyan Latin, you must come from a tribe. And if that's tribalism, even you are tribalist, for example. So we move, let me contextualize this. When we move into that space, we're saying the tribes of Israel get together and help Moses lead the country.
Okay. I'll go on a short break, but when we come back, let's answer, if the vision is compelling, why is it not able to attract bipartisan support from across the country? This is not just in the case of PDP, in the case of Jubilee or ODM or UDA or wherever. If the vision is compelling and the vision bearer is compelling, why not get bipartisan support? Let's go on a short break. We'll be right back after this. The hashtag is Fixing the Nation NTV.
Very many comments coming in. Stephen Chamor is asking, which seat is Magara going for? Well, he'll tell us. D. Combo says, there is nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1 to 11. HRH Makanda says, all that long lecture about how things are bad, only for Magara to say he's backing Matiangi. Same old, same old. Tribalism is at the core. Staki Mapepe, the united opposition must remain united but focus more on social and economic stability of citizens and not just dwell purely on politics. Siasa ni nyingi sana. Like people are just tired.
It's actually hot because basically Kenyans are tired. I mean, Kenyans are really completely destabilized. Honestly, how do you expect anybody to sit pretty and kids are not going to school? You are the one covering serious issues out here on how mothers are crying. Those ones you reach are a handful. How many more cannot reach nation, for example? And when somebody says that we're not focusing on social strata, it is not true, because we have said what is not right. And we are not saying we want power for the sake of power. It is possible that this country can be fixed because some things were working. They have been overturned by some vested interest. I will tell you, and anybody challenge me today, anything this government touches, there is some money factor to it. Boss, including even TS recruitment. It was the fairest employer. If you want me to tell you the shambolic way teachers are being employed today, you've had papers of TSC forms being sold in funerals. And then you want us to say you keep quiet? How about that lady who sold her land, took her kid to school to P1, and they can't get a job? Today, we have migrated quickly to JSS, there are P1 teachers who need to go and retrain again. They have no business. They can't even afford to go back to school. When we talk about SHA not working, it's not the same old story. We are saying, please, as we are saying fix the nation, give us an opportunity to fix this nation because it's fixable. And anybody worrying too much, for example, about what Magara is going for, I've run for Senate Kisii County, and in a fair contest, I've won, but not declared, for example. I can qualify to run for governor today, and it's on the table. What I can run at the county level is a women rep. We are trying to put a team together in Kisii to fix Kisii County. And when I'm telling you this, it's not a joke. The other day, people were dying because there are no ICU facility in the level 6 hospital. I mean, really. And you want us to keep quiet? Same old story. If somebody is milking a cow somewhere, you say Magara is a Rotary fellow. And anybody saying that's the same old story because I'm supporting Matiangi, I want to also correct this myth that tribalism is a vice. It's only how you use it. And I said, if Omingo coming from Kisii, I'm a tribalist, then even Mariam, from where she comes, she is a tribalist. I don't know where that comes because the name is very unique and nice. You can kind of camouflage. Wherever you come from, then you're a tribalist in that context. In Germany, we have a Green Party looking after farmers. We have a Labour Party for the purpose of workers. So politics is about interest. So when I'm a vision bearer, for example, my vision bearer, the vision that I have is an accountable government giving power to the people and Article 1 of the Constitution. Because our slogan is, Mamlaka belongs to people, power belongs to people. That's my, if you don't want to buy it, you want to remain a slave of the political class, that's your bit. But take that power, because when we're elected, it is like a house girl in your home, a house manager, they call them house manager today. They can't fix your menu. They only to do your bait. When you give us a job, stupidly, we start adoring you like a god. It is not acceptable. You are the employers and the bosses. So supporting Matiangi is not a crime. It is what it stands for that attracts me beyond being a Kisii, for example.
Okay. You're the party leader of People's Democratic Party, right? That has some elected representatives.
MCs, yes.
Many of your elected representatives are only from the Kisii region. All right? So here you are, PDP, for all intents and purposes. It's a national party, but has a Kisii base. Yep.
Granted.
Jubilee has been a national party, but now with its deputy party leader and the front runner in this have being the Kisii carrier of the Rungu, is now being taken into a regional party. For you to be able to adequately support Fred Matiang'i, then Fred Matiang'i has got to have some bragging rights. He can't go to the national stage after the next election na hata ana hata MP moja kutoka base, because Omingo Magara's party has taken all the MPs in Kisii and all the MCAs. And this national leader called Fred Matiang'i has MPs coming from Northeastern, from Nairobi, but none from his base. Politically, as somebody who's experienced in politics, that's not a good picture.
Wrong. In Kajiado, the last elections, everybody was from ODM. The governor was from, governor was from a different party. Almost all MCAs were from a different party. It is the delivery of a governor or a person sitting on the helm that will galvanize the population around you. So that is one thing that we need to contextualize out of it. Number two, when we talk about PDP having members from Kisii, we have elected leaders from Machakos, our elected leaders from Migori. In fact, minority was in Kisumu 2013, 2017. PDP was a minority party in the center of Nyanza. Right. Obado was elected from PDP, not a Kisii, for example. We have had Koyo from Migori, from Kisumu, being elected from PDP. It is maybe the number could be higher, but not local. Please differentiate that.
Okay, no. Let me reword this. Okay, you as a leader of PDP, right, having many of your elected leaders coming from the Kisii region, right, would like to sort of safeguard your base, which is in Gusii land. Now, ODM has a deputy party leader who is the governor of Kisii, okay? And ODM has been getting very many seats in Gusii land. Now enter Jubilee. All this, as you support this Jubilee leader, is that not to the detriment of your own party?
Far from it. Democracy is such narrative. Today, if we get into a competitive arrangement, may the best candidate win. I will give you an example of Nyanziongo, right? The primitive thing of saying pick one and left the others hang around and by painting a particular color is what cost Baba elections several times. Reason? There are people who want to mobilize people to come and vote for your agenda.
Yeah.
But because a democracy means multi-party democracy. It is not single party. That one you know where I sat last time. You can't kill, but people shed blood and life were lost because of fighting for multipartyism. The beauty about this, it gives people a chance to express themselves. Now, why we lose is because Baba, were people hanging on his jacket to succeed. Out of 10, one is picked and said, when one is picked, the rest of them can go to oblivion. That cost Baba a lot of election votes because people could not mobilize. Baba lost by 200,000 votes, but 700 people from his strong base did not vote. Why? Voter apathy. What am I voting for? Because that has been given. Mariam can go and rest because you can invest your resources to mobilize to support him and as a consequence support the president. So those dynamics we need to look at. Even as we're doing multipartyism, how do we blend and gel? You guys were worried about how we're doing things the same way, same old. You know, even God also gives opportunities, right? We have the young people who are shaping us how to do it. Maybe you've not captured their interest. I can tell you the other faction that from ODM we are looking at could be a wonderful blend so that we walk in together. The old and the new gives us a big serious value. And I can tell you, we're not going to do things the same way. Today, even those guys who are running as individual kingpins may not run for in the particular parties. They will run into a national coalition where things will be churned and will carry now the vision of the entire country, not a tribe or a party.
Okay. Maura Simon is asking again, and I think it's a good question, and it's something we've asked every person from the United Alternative Government. What is the United Opposition's agenda, or is it Ruto must go?
Oh, wow. In fact, Ruto has caused us to set the agenda against him by his, non-performance or lack of performance or doing it wrong. Let me ask you, even when the mama was working, Mariam, it is not working today. Mariam, you go to some hospitals, tumeitisha pesa mara ngapi ya mchango you go to hospital and they tell you your cancer is not at the particular level to be addressed by SHA, you ngoja ipanda kidogo. Really? Here we're talking about the kids. You want us to go to Singapore, Mariam. We go to Singapore with an empty stomach. We go to Singapore when we are exporting labor to the other countries for Kenyans to be dehumanized. We fought for democracy and liberation to empower our people. We are enslaving our people 60 years after independence to the foreign countries and can't create jobs. When I was with William Ruto and a wonderful, brilliant brain, there's one example he used to give, and I'm sure he's listening if he's watching, an issue of height and skins, We lose, you're saying, and you figure number-wise is brilliant, we lose 4 million hides and skins every day, right? Those hides and skins, if they were to be turned into leather, we will provide every school-going child with a shoe. Stop importation, grow industry. We're talking about bottom-up and hustler. Tell me one day when the president mentioned hustler. You go to Singapore, you haven't sat with captains of industry to tell them how to turn this economy by creating jobs and space. We're telling him, for that reason, it's not the agenda. His conduct is a big agenda beyond any other corner. In fact, if he wasn't there, most of these things which were fixed, they are now collapsing, will be refixed.
Hey, but I've not heard your agenda.
Excuse me. Provide.
you see, saying
agenda
SHA
is
isn't working,
undo Ruto.
or
No,
that's not an agenda, though.
It is an agenda, Miriam. Where do we start? You grow by starting small-scale industries, which we bought the idea from this brother of ours. That's how we grow the economy. We grow by encouraging savings and investment. That has been shoved by getting to sit pretty. Let me bring you money, and I'm mortgaging you and your great-grandchildren to come and pay those loans. Isn't that an agenda of social welfare? Are we talking about provision of education? Are we talking about the issue of industrialization? Are we talking about, people, having sufficient food, creating jobs that can be able to support industries? How much is it to have an avocado pulping plant which extracts oil for wonderful hair like yours? It is not more than 20 million shillings. How much are we giving people who come to State House? Please, Miriam. And you say that's not an agenda?
It's not, Here's the thing.
Give me, maybe school me about what an agenda is.
So,
what agenda? I mean, how in your words, what is an agenda, political agenda?
Let's start with this.
Yes,
okay.
please.
Let us say that the people have identified their needs.
Correct.
Okay. Now they are looking for a candidate who will address their needs.
Correct.
What will they be judging? They'll be judging the candidate's approach to addressing their needs, not a candidate parroting their needs. Okay?
Yes.
So today I need water. Yes. You can't come and tell me, you need water. That's my agenda.
Yes.
No, it is not yours, it's mine. You see?
Let me contextualize that now.
So you've got to come and tell me, so how are you going to address my need? So let's say now you're saying, health is my need.
Correct.
William Ruto came and said, health is, yes, your need. This is what I'm going to do about it.
Sure.
And this is what he's doing about it. He has said, let's implement universal health coverage. Let's have SHA. Let's have these 4 laws. Let's have facility improvement fund. Let's have this and the other, right? It's going the way it's going. You can't come and say, you see, he's not doing it right. So how will you do it right yourself? That's what we want to hear.
Can I tell you?
Yes.
Our first agenda, and I told you this before, or that you just ignore that. Everything that is set up is purpose of, milking this cow. Graft. Right? If I was to be given the power today, the first thing I'll do, I'll have to hang a few thugs who are seen, so that the wastage we have, so that we don't create institutions and systems to enrich ourselves. Latif, those things, that an agenda of providing universal healthcare is not working, only because we don't know what we are doing. But it was working, it's not working. But how do we do? Why is it not working? Corruption. You have seen facilities, it's an agenda, yes, on their side, which can't work because it's not working for us. It is them who are using the agenda. So we're saying, when I get power today, if I should be advised the presidential candidate, first of all, nip the entire corruption bit. Let the money retain here. Plow back that money into the economy. Let people create industries and perhaps minimize the losses. Because finance, if you have human capital, finance, use land effectively, boss, we are growing. So it is not because there is no agenda on the other side. It's an agenda not for Kenyans, an agenda for them. So if I go to that office today, is to draw a line and ensure that we actually cut graft. That's why my bid, if we stop graft, everything else will fly on an alternative. And even if some of us color these things very nicely, but the intention is not what we were focusing. The intention is my pocket.
So fight corruption.
First and foremost.
Okay, how do we fight corruption? Effectively. That has not been tried and failed before.
Latif, please, when you tell me this facility is not registered but has received SHA, then you say, let us lead institutions to investigate and give you results in 21 days. It doesn't happen. It is the will and the commitment of the political class to fight it. Not that we don't have laws. It is that we want to gloss over the laws and turn them and even amend them to suit our interests. I am saying how we fight that is from the will. And let corruption be punished and not glorified. Saying that we steal and we go to church and sometimes we are clapped for. And that money is blood money. So I'm saying we have an agenda. Is like resources are the major thing. In fact, the policies you want to put in government, they rely squarely on the resources. I'm telling you, Singapore is a pipe dream. If you look at even the imports, the revenue streams have gone down because people are not importing. They can't import. The cost of that is too much. So if we fight corruption and put our priorities, have power education, children go to school. In fact, that's how you equalize the nation. But if you deny people education, which is happening today, a funding model is not working. We are not saying, by the way, if we would even plug in from where Kibaki left it or Uhuru, it is workable. And we're not saying we're changing because we don't like our face. I think that's also where you go wrong. It is an agenda which was set, but has been deviated. Even before you create your own agenda, if something is working, please don't reinvent the wheel. What is happening today in this country, Kenyans are resilient. If we were given that opportunity to serve, I can tell you, I don't even have to change anything. Package what he has and make it better work for Kenyans. And let me also warn my colleagues in the official position. We must unite, otherwise we'll be cannibalized by Kenyans because they are impatient. Number two, if we take power, but also not if, when we take power, when we take power. I also am warning our team. Uhuru said the youth population must be addressed or they run us out of town. People were very patient with this kind of regime. They gave them 2 years to express their displeasure. This coming one, 60 days will be too much. So you need radical transformation agenda that Kenyans will feel. Then they will embrace you. Otherwise, 60 days will be too long.
You'll be routed out.
Fact.
Let me go back to the Matiangi factor.
Yes.
Okay. Kingpin, starting from home base, Matiangi. How do you sell Fred Matiangi to the rest of the nation?
Not as a Kisi, but as a performer in the sectors he had performed, had worked in, and I said them, I enumerated them. One is ICT. You guys, digital migration was a challenge. Please, I'm sure now you're giving a thumbs up. I mean, starting with a live example here. He fixed this, it's now working. In fact, this airwaves may not have been a very easy thing for you. Fact. Look at the education sector. Boss, transition was about 98%, right? Today, 50%. Do you know there are kids who've got admission to university, but they decline? I mean, I don't have to tell you this, you know. You even have siblings. It works. And if you empower those people, you know, there's a labor market that can even drive this economy. And the Kenyans, you know, even our certificates, when you go to some of the European countries, I don't know if you went to London, when he went there, actually, Wazungus were listening to him to train them accounting and finance. Because we are detailed, we read.
Kenyans are writing papers for a lot of
countries. Our policy papers are Botswana, the ones with the flying in Botswana. Singapore, where we are going, we were the example, we are benchmark for Singapore. And then it's also very sad that head of state is marketing Singapore as a tourist destination, as against Kenya. So it means you don't like your country, you must refer to other people because the color is white, whatever it is, and they're more brains than us. Sorry. Now, anyway, back to business. We're talking about our children they are declining to go to university.
Why?
Boss, the funding model they can't afford. They can't afford the funding model. You key in the same parameters of parent and my parent. You're given 250 and then one's given 160, for example. I don't know how it's done. This selection grade 10, and then you were telling us we see pretty people who are going there. It was a model to churn money. I mean, really, when things were flying. So education was functional, things were working, back to transition. Let me tell you also, we are now also producing kids who are educated from wealth money, or dirty money. You go to hospital, you find them doing a Google, and I say, surely, why should I Google? Should I come to you to Google? I can also Google my medication things. When Matiangi came, certificates mattered. And by the way, we produce quality doctors. That's a serious investment, a policy decision we're making as an agenda to ensure we get back to where we are and do it even better than Matiangi did. Go to the security sector. You know, people die, and then you can't, not do it when somebody says poorly. Accidents, you've had, and they're carelessly done, 20 people die. Even the Minister of Transport Roads cannot even send condolences to empathize with people. So it is not working. Matiangi will fix it. And if he doesn't fix it, whoever carries the national flag will have that agenda to run. And I'm sure Kenyans we shall instruct Kenyans that nobody will touch us. And that state thing is a myth.
Okay. Listen, yes, Dr. Fred Matiangi, in the various places that he performed, he performed to a certain degree. I'm just not comfortable when you sort of like make him appear like he performed excellently in all these places, because it wasn't excellent.
Correct.
Right? Maybe he was meeting expectations, but he certainly wasn't exceeding expectation. Digital migration was a global policy. Whoever was in that ministry, Kenya had to migrate. Okay. Education.
Resistance?
Resistance happened.
It did.
Migration, I mean, education, universities were collapsing. They haven't come out of the woods yet, but universities were collapsing. And this is because the government was not doing what it ought to have been doing in terms of funding, right? We still have to address those issues. Even now, those issues have not been addressed. Extrajudicial killings and abductions were taking place when he was Minister for Interior. So it's not that he was exceeding expectations. That's the truth.
Exactly.
But he did the bit that he did. Okay. I want to ask the final question, which is on what you said. If we don't unite, we will be cannibalized by the Kenyans. What are the risk factors for opposition unity? Number one, of course, money. Number two, being co-opted, right? So how do you ensure against all those? You have a wily opponent who's looking at you and looking at how fractious you are, and he has good deeds to dangle.
Latif, first question about Fred Matiangi's performance. He did that with donated power. Please. No, Mark, underline that. That meeting expectation was donated power. Suppose you give me the power to donate to others with that kind of, presence. Boss, it shall work. Number two, there gets to a point where money does not matter. And if it did matter, Nyansiongo seats or Kisi by-elections would have gone to the government today. I have seen people who have changed cross shop from our side to the government side.
Right.
I can tell you their popularity rating came down to almost zero. All those 6 who are kind of a presidency, they better know ye therefore that theirs is cooked. And I can tell you, even if it's only one against those, all Kenyans will go to that other person. And that's a premium all of us must not be willing to give away.
Right. All right. Thank you so much. That's Omingo Magara, the former South Mugirango MP, and of course, party leader for the People's Democratic Party. We've been discussing the Matiangi factor, his own politics as well. We'll take a short break, but when we come back, a really important discussion on the welfare of Kenyans in the diaspora with the PS for the State Department of Diaspora. Yes. We'll be right back after this.